Born on November 15, 1835, to a family of Tosa clan samurai, Sakamoto Ryoma left a deep mark on Japanese history in his short life. In the turbulent times of the end of the Tokugawa shogunate, he was a man who sought a new form of Japan with his free thinking and drive that was not bound by existing frameworks. Ryoma was born as the second son of the Sakamoto family, samurai of the Tosa clan. His childhood name was Teranosuke. His father, Naomori, was a samurai, but ran a sake brewing business, and the family business was relatively wealthy. As a child, Ryoma was loved by his older sisters, but he was said to have been shy. He came of age at the age of 15 and began to call himself Sakamoto Ryoma. Around this time, he began to devote himself to training in swordsmanship, and entered the Hokushin Ito Ryu dojo of the Tosa clan. However, he was not satisfied with the swordsmanship of the clan, and in 1853, he aimed to travel to Edo to study. While training in Edo, Ryoma heard the news of Perry's arrival and felt a sense of crisis about the situation Japan found itself in. It is believed that this experience was the driving force behind Ryoma's later actions. In 1855, Ryoma returned to Tosa. However, his ideas had already gone beyond the boundaries of the domain. In 1862, he escaped from the domain and fled to Edo. He became a disciple of Katsu Kaishu and studied navigation and Western studies. Meeting Katsu greatly changed Ryoma's life. Inspired by Katsu's words, "Think about Japan," Ryoma gradually began to think about things from a national perspective. In 1864, Ryoma worked hard to avoid a war between the Choshu domain and the shogunate. From this time on, Ryoma's political activities began in earnest. In the same year, he was implicated in the assassination of Kochi samurai Yoshida Toyo, and at one point his life was put in danger. But he was saved by his comrades in the Tosa Kino party. In 1865, Ryoma met Saigo Takamori and Okubo Toshimichi of the Satsuma clan. Impressed by the Satsuma clan's progressive approach, Ryoma plotted an alliance between the Satsuma clan and the Choshu clan. This would later lead to the Satsuma-Choshu Alliance. In January 1866, the Satsuma-Choshu Alliance was formed through Ryoma's mediation. This alliance would later become the driving force behind the Meiji Restoration. In April of the same year, he founded Kamiyama Shachu, later the Kaientai in Nagasaki. He engaged in arms sales and ship trade, becoming a pioneer in modern company management. In 1867, Ryoma drafted the Senchu Hachisaku. This was a policy proposal that would later become the backbone of the Meiji government, and included the realization of a public government, the abolition of the class system, and a policy of opening the country to the outside world. In October of the same year, with the help of Ryoma's efforts, Tokugawa Yoshinobu realized the restoration of imperial rule. However, shortly afterwards, on November 15, Ryoma was assassinated along with Nakaoka Shintaro at Omiya in Kyoto. He was 33 years old. There are various theories about the cause of Ryoma's death, and the debate continues to this day, with some saying he was assassinated by a shogunate agent, others that he was assassinated by the Satsuma clan. Ryoma's foresight and drive are perhaps the most notable features of his life. He envisioned a new image of Japan without being bound by the existing framework of the shogunate Han system, and worked hard to make it a reality. In particular, Ryoma's mediation of the Satsuma-Choshu Alliance was one of his greatest achievements. Linking the Satsuma and Choshu clans, who were said to be at odds at the time, was a major factor in changing the political situation. At the end of the Edo period, Ryoma considered this alliance for the good of Japan, and acted with a national perspective that went beyond the interests of his domain. The establishment of the Kamiyama Company also shows Ryoma's progressiveness. He adopted a modern corporate management method of making profits through arms sales and trade, and using those funds to support the activities of patriots. This was an initiative that could be said to be a precursor to Japan's later industrialization. Ryoma's ideas, as outlined in 8 Policies on Board the Ship, had a major impact on the policies of the Meiji government. The realization of a public deliberation system, parliamentary government, the abolition of the class system, and a policy of opening the country to the outside world were exactly the direction Japan was aiming for after the Meiji Restoration. Ryoma's humanity was also a factor in attracting many people. His free thinking that was not bound by existing values, his drive to work toward his goals, and his magnetic personality led him to gather many comrades. On the other hand, there are also critical views of Ryouma's actions. The social norms of the time did not permit Ryouma's actions of escaping from his domain, which ignored the order of the domain, or his illegal activities such as arms sales. Historians are still debating the merits and demerits of his actions. Ryouma's life overlaps with the end of the Edo period, one of the most turbulent periods in Japanese history. His life embodies the suffering and hopes of the Japanese people during the transition from feudalism to a modern nation. After his death, Ryouma's fame grew throughout the ages. In particular, the huge success of Ryouma's novel, Ryouma ga Yuku, by Ryotaro Shiba established Ryouma's status as a national hero. Even today, Ryouma is featured in various media, such as dramas, movies, and manga, and his popularity shows no sign of waning. Kochi Prefecture has many tourist spots and memorial halls related to Ryouma, making him an important tourist resource for the region. The broadcast of the NHK Taiga drama, Ryoumaden, in 2010, also sparked a nationwide Ryouma boom. However, such later dramatizations sometimes deviate from the historical facts. For example, the famous episode in which Ryouma said, "I will wash Japan once again," is likely not historical fact. Nevertheless, the foresight and drive seen in Ryouma's life, and his passion for Japan's future, are undeniable facts. His way of life continues to give courage to people living in difficult times. The life of Sakamoto Ryoma symbolizes the process of Japan's modernization. His life is condensed with the fight against the old system, the search for a new image of the nation, and his tragic end. It is not just the story of one patriot, but also a story that symbolizes the end of one era and the beginning of a new one. Even now, more than 150 years after Ryoma's time, his name remains etched in the memories of many Japanese people. This is probably because there is something about his way of life that resonates with people across the ages. Foresight, drive, and love for one's country. The combination of these elements in Ryoma's life still speaks volumes to us today. Sakamoto Ryoma. He was a patriot of the late Edo period, and at the same time a pioneer of modern Japan. His short but intense life will continue to be passed down as one of the most dramatic pages in Japanese history.